She takes, they drew the line and called it safe. They put the school inside the safe zone frame. They signed the papers, cleared the zone. They never planned to walk her home. The truck was ready, the bell was set. The safe zone promise, not honored yet. They said protected, they said civilian. They said the children were untouchable. They lied, not a mistake, not a mistake. Every child in that building, not a mistake, not a mistake, not a mistake. You knew it was a school and you pulled the trigger anyway. Anyway. This happens every time the powerful fight. The schoolyard turns to rubble overnight. They move the war through populated zones. They count the children after, not before. Morning class becomes a body count. A name becomes a number in the mount. The safe zone shrinks when the orders come. The children pay the tab when the bombing's done. They built the language first, before they built the weapon. Collateral, acceptable, regrettable, so they never have to say they killed a child today. Not a mistake, not a mistake. Every child in that building, not a mistake, not a mistake, not a mistake. You knew it was a school and you pulled the trigger anyway. Anyway. The bag was never picked up. Press release at 9 a.m. clean, no blood between the lines you've seen. Targeting error, coordinates off. That's the headline, that's the fraud. They typed it smooth, they typed it fast. Before the rescue teams had cleared the glass, the word was chosen before the dust. The word protects them, that's the thrust. She walked in with a bus of books at morning. She never walked back out. They called it an error in the briefing. The error doesn't have a mouth, but we have mouths. And we are not shutting up. The press release at 9, children at 8. We will not file this under mistake. The spokesperson speaks with practiced grief. 2 minutes 40, then relief. They take 3 questions, dodge the 4th. They thank the press and head back north. The camera cuts, the nation scrolls. The next catastrophe console. The file gets thin, the case gets cold. The word error does exactly what it's told. She walked in with the books that morning. She never walked back out. They called it an error in the briefing. The error doesn't have a mouth, but we have mouths. And we are not shutting up. Press release at 9, children at 8. Oversight is not accountability. An apology is not a prosecution. A press release is not the truth. A statement is not restitution. They use the word error like a shield. The word error makes the powerful healed. The word error closes every door. The word error means you won't ask more. We've seen this script in 100 wars. Same press release, different shores. Same children, different names. Same impunity, same filthy games. She walked in with the books of mourning. She never walks back out. They called it an error in the briefing. The error doesn't have a mouth, but we have mouths, and we are not shutting up. Press release at 9, children that age. We will not file this under mistake. The press release is not the last word. Come on! They said a number on the evening feed. They moved on fast, that's all you need. A number doesn't bleed, a number doesn't cry, a number doesn't ask its mother why. But inside that number was a notebook page, a drawing, a test, a half-filled stage, a lunch pack before the school bell rang, a world that ended before it began. The statistician does their job. The analyst files, the system throbs. Acceptable loss gets its own row. The spreadsheet doesn't need to know that the loss had homework due on Thursday, that the loss had plans for the weekend, that the loss had a favorite color, that the loss had a name, not a number. Who counts the one inside the count? Who reads the name the system won't announce? Who holds the weight the briefing room erased? Who puts the face back on the faceless case? What was in the bag they left behind? What was in the bag? Does anyone mind? What was in the bag when the morning came? What was in the bag? Say the name. Say the name. The number doesn't answer. Say the name. Is a child worth less when they're far away? Is the distance what makes it okay? Does the time zone change the weight of it? Does the flag above it change the guilt? What was in the bag they left behind? What was in the bag? Does anyone mind? What was in the bag when the morning came? What was in the bag? Say the name. Say the name. The number doesn't answer. Say the name. The bag is still there. The bag is still there. The data was all. The satellites all years ago, the wall went up, the data stayed slow. The school replaced the military site, the data didn't get the update right. They built a target list from an older source, they ran the strike without a second course. The school was full, the data said base, the children paid for the database. They had the feed, they had the eyes, they had a decade of satellite skies. They chose the yo map over the true and the children died. For the data they knew, the data was old, the data was old. They hid it anyway. The data was old, the data was old. They hid it anyway. The data was old and the children were real. The data was old, that's the deal they made. The data was old. Intelligence failures that are never corrected. The AI selects from the outdated list. The human signs off, no one can resist. Accountability ends at the algorithm. Responsibility hides inside the system. Nobody pulled the trigger, the system did. The system doesn't go to prison for the kids. They had the feed, they had the eyes, they had a decade of satellite skies. They chose the yo map over the true and the children died. For the data they knew, the data was old, the data was old. They hid it anyway. The data was old, the data was old. They hid it anyway. The data was old and the children were real. The data was old, that's the deal they made. The data was old. Update it there, or stop the strike. Children dead all night and all along. 3 seats rise, 3 hands block, 3 permanent members stop the clock. The vote dies in the room, the children stay dead in the tomb. The skill was built by the powerful, for the powerful. The code was built by the powerful, for the powerful. The law was written by the powerful, for the powerful. And the children are not powerful. The weapon was approved. 2. The target list was used. 3. The school was in the zone. 4. The children were alone. 5. The veto blocked the case. 6. The investigation was erased. 7. The contract was renewed. 8. And the system was excused. Quiet was excused. The veto doesn't care about your children. Different continent, same rubble, different sentiment. Same children under the same sky, different flag, different reason why. This side of the wire gets a candlelight, that side of the wire gets a paragraph at night. This child gets the front page spread, that child gets a footnote for the dead. Which flag was flying? Which flag was flying? Which flag decides who gets to grieve tonight? Which flag was flying? Which flag was flying? Which flag? Which flag? Which flag makes it right? Which flag was flying? Which flag was flying over the school they bombed tonight? Which flag was flying? The editor decides before the wire which tragedy is worth the satellite higher. The algorithm learned from what you click. The hierarchy of grief was algorithmically picked. One child's face becomes the symbol, another child's face stays invisible. Not because one death is worse, but because some deaths serve the narrative first. Tell me which passport changes the weight. Tell me which border changes the fate. Tell me which language on the evening news decides which mother's loss is the one we choose. Which flag was flying? Which flag was flying? Which flag decides who gets to grieve tonight? Which flag was flying? Which flag was flying? Which flag? Which flag? Which flag makes it right? Which flag was flying? Which flag was flying over the school they bombed tonight? Which flag was flying? We reject the hierarchy of grief. We reject the tier system for the dead. Every child under every flag deserves the same outrage in your head. Which flag was flying? Which flag was flying? Which flag decides who gets to grieve tonight? Which flag was flying? Which flag was flying? Which flag? Which flag? Which flag makes it right? Which flag was flying? Which flag was flying over the school they bombed tonight? Which flag was flying? No flag justifies the body count. Collateral, two syllables of cover. Neutralize the word that buries another. Strike package, what a clean machine. Acceptable loss, you know what that means. They built a language before they built the bomb. The euphemism arrives before the tomahawk comes. The word clears the room before the body does. The language is the first weapon, always was. Regrettable intended translation, we did it. Insufficient data, translation, we hit it. Full investigation, translation, give us time to bury this so deep it never sees a dime. The spokesperson is fluent in this dialect. The briefing room produces it with perfect effect. Cold eyes, warm words, steady camera face. The language of impunity holding its place. Every euphemism is a child erased. Every sanitized term is a grave deface. Every press release that softens the blow is a weapon fired at everyone who knows. They say collateral, we say murdered. They say regrettable, we say responsible. They say insufficient data, we say you had the satellite. They say case closed, we say the case is never closed. They say safe, we say murder. They say error, we say murder. They say acceptable, we say never. They say case closed, we say never. The language protects the powerful. The silence buries the dead. We will not speak their language. We speak the language of the dead instead. We are not fluent in their euphemisms. The investigation is ongoing. The findings are classified. The commission will report at a time of their choosing. Not yours. From now, when the decision makers take their bow, when the generals write the memoirs clean, when the children's names have left the scene, the black box knows what happened there. The black box sits behind a chair, classified until the heat dies down, classified until nobody's around. The powerful run the inquiry, the powerful set the timeline, the powerful decide what's evidence, and the powerful like do it just fine. Classified, until convenient. Classified, until the guilty are ancient. Classified, the file says wait. Classified, the families can't see the gate. Classified, the commission extends. Classified until the rage ends. They release the summary, 80 pages. The real file comes in 40 years. By then the architects are pensioned. By then the families still have tears. By then the language has been laundered. By then the context has been lost. By then the number is a footnote. By then nobody counts the cost. This is not conspiracy, this is procedure. This is not paranoia, this is the feature. Every powerful institution protects itself. Every investigation that they run protects itself. The outcome is written before the hearing start. The conclusion is drafted before they pull the card. The file gets closed, the womb stays open. The classified stamp is all they spoken. The powerful run the inquiry. The powerful set the timeline. The powerful decide classified. Whatever gets in the powerful, I do it just fine. Classified. Classified. Until convenient. Classified. Classified. Classified until the guilty are agent. Classified. The file says wait. Classified. The families can't see the gate. Classified. The commission extends. Classified until the rage ends. Declassify everything.
tethered, but stop, slow down. Back to the number, back to the one inside the number. The one who had a seat in row 3, the one who had a name you'll never see on TV. Read it slower than the news cycle runs. Read it slower than the breaking coverage comes. want it gone before the weight arrives. They got the dead to end the story, not the unalive.
This is not about one school in one country. This is every school in every war. This is every child the system process. This is every name behind every door.
Count that slow. Count everyone. Don't let them scroll.
She was 7 years old on a Tuesday morning. She had a desk in the back, lunch and a plan. She had a mother who called the school that morning. She had a future that ended before it began. That's the story the number doesn't carry. That's the weight the press release won't hold. That's what we owe every name in every country. Every name the system left untold.
Count them slow. Every single one. Come on. The orange juice is freshly pressed. The morning brief is neatly dressed. Defense sector up 3%. The guided munitions contract, heaven sent. The news is on, but the sound is low. A school somewhere, don't need to know. The product landed, the product worked. The quarterly report is not disturbed. The CEO's kid goes to private school. Armed security stand a rule. 14 floors above the street. The product detonates where they don't eat. 7,000 miles is very clean. 7,000 miles keeps the conscience lean. The distance is not accidental. The distance is the business model's rental. You build a weapon, you sold the weapon. You knew the weapon would hit a populated zone. You cashed the dividend, you took the bonus, and you slept fine in your heavily guarded home. First, design the weapon. Second, lobby for the contract. Third, get the approval. Fourth, ship the product. Fifth, collect the payment. Sixth, read the earnings call. Seventh, the school is in the rubble. Eighth, you didn't know at all. Ignorance is architecture. Distance is a business choice. The factory runs between the trigger and the voice. We name you, we name the factory, we name the contract, we name the distance. You decide. First, design the weapon. Second, lobby for the contract. Third, get the approval. Fourth, ship the product. Fifth, collect the payment. Sixth, read the earnings call. Seventh, the school is in the rubble. Eighth, you didn't know at all. 7,000 miles is not far enough.
Article 51, right to defend. The definition bends until it ends. Geneva IV says protect the school unless you own the chamber and the rule. The charter was written for the powerless. The powerful exempted themselves regardless. The law is loud when the weak transgress. The law goes quiet for the permanent press. They wrote the law, they break the law. They sit in judgment of the law. They veto every consequence. The law was never meant for them. The charter doesn't apply to you. The charter doesn't apply to you. You wrote it. You exempt yourself. The charter doesn't apply to you. The charter doesn't apply to you. You own the court. You own the shelf. The charter doesn't apply to you. The charter doesn't apply to you. The ICC issues the charge today. The enforcement mechanism gets in the way. The extradition stalls at the border gate. The permanent member files the veto straight in international law. For the powerful is optional. International law for the weak is unconditional. One standard for the ones who own the room. One standard for the ones outside the room. We are not asking for your permission. We are not filing within your system. We are naming what you are in every language. We are broadcasting on every frequency. You cannot veto the signal. You cannot classify the frequency. You cannot press release your way out of history. We are the signal and we do not stop. The charter doesn't apply to you. The charter doesn't apply to you. You wrote it. You exempt yourself. The charter doesn't apply to you. The charter doesn't apply to you. You own the court. You own the shelf. The charter doesn't apply to you. The charter doesn't apply to you. The signal doesn't need your approval.